Trump's NATO showdown is now arriving before the July summit. Trump is turning NATO's July summit into a loyalty test. Rutte is going to Washington because NATO has a Trump problem. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is meeting President Donald Trump at the White House before the NATO summit scheduled for the 7th of July to 8 in Ankara, with alliance tensions already visible before leaders arrive around the summit table. NATO has confirmed Rutte's Washington visit from the 23rd of June to 25 and his White House meeting with Trump on the 24th of June. The significance is obvious. This is not a routine courtesy call. It is a pre-summit pressure meeting with the one leader capable of turning NATO's carefully managed diplomatic choreography into a public loyalty test. Trump has spent years attacking European free riding, and the core argument has not disappeared simply because European leaders dislike the tone. From a pro-Trump perspective, the meeting matters because it shows the alliance responding to pressure that many European governments spent decades trying to evade. Trump's method is abrasive, but the underlying demand is simple. If NATO is a collective defense alliance, Europe cannot keep treating American power as a permanent insurance policy funded mainly by Washington. The real discussion point is money, not manners. The central discussion will almost certainly be defense spending. NATO's own 2025 Hague Summit Declaration committed allies to a 5% defense investment target by 2035, split between 3.5% of GDP for core defense spending and 1.5% for broader defense-related investment such as cyber, infrastructure, and resilience. That is Trump's biggest strategic win inside NATO. For years, European leaders framed higher spending as politically difficult, fiscally painful, or diplomatically sensitive. Trump reframed it as fairness. Once that frame took hold, the old European habit of promising more while moving slowly became harder to defend. Rutte's task is to show Trump that the spending shift is real, not another polite communiqué designed to survive a summit and disappear afterward. NATO has already said European allies and Canada made a major step forward, with a 20% increase in defense spending compared with 2024. That is exactly the kind of number Rutte will want in front of Trump. Proof that pressure is producing results. Trump wants NATO to look less like a subsidy. The harshest American critique of NATO is that it became psychologically dependent on US protection, while European governments spent political capital elsewhere. That critique is uncomfortable because it contains truth. Europe's security environment deteriorated, Russia became more aggressive, the Middle East remained unstable, and yet large parts of Europe still behaved as if American military dominance was a background condition of normal life. Trump's position cuts through the diplomatic language. He wants allies to pay, rearm, produce more, and accept that American patience is not unlimited. That does not mean abandoning NATO. It means changing the price of American commitment. This is where Rutte becomes useful. He is not approaching Trump as a European scold. He is trying to translate Trump's pressure into alliance language: stronger Europe, stronger NATO, fairer burden sharing, more defense production, and more credible deterrence. Rutte has recently stressed that NATO needs more forces, more resources, and a much stronger industrial base, linking spending directly to collective security. What could be agreed before the July summit? The most likely agreement is not a dramatic treaty change. It is a political understanding around summit messaging. Trump will want a visible win. Rutte will want to keep the United States committed. Europe will want to avoid a public rupture. Those incentives point toward a carefully shaped package. First, NATO could sharpen the language around the 5% pathway, making annual national plans more visible and harder to fudge. Second, allies could commit to clearer defense industrial targets, especially ammunition, air defense, drones, missiles, and rapid replenishment capacity. Third, Rutte could offer Trump stronger public recognition that American pressure forced the spending shift. Ukraine will also sit inside the discussion, even if not always at the center. NATO's July summit is expected to focus on defense spending, industrial production, and support for Ukraine according to summit analysis around Ankara. Trump's instinct will be to avoid open-ended commitments without clearer European ownership. Rutte's challenge is to package Ukraine's support as part of European burden shifting, rather than another US-led blank check. The Iran factor makes the meeting more explosive. The reported tension around US action in Iran and allied reluctance to support American operations gives the meeting a sharper edge. The danger for NATO is not simply that Trump criticizes Europe. It is that he starts treating NATO as selectively useful, valuable when allies support American priorities, expendable when they constrain them. That is why this White House meeting matters before Ankara. Rutte has to keep NATO from becoming a venue where Trump publicly measures which allies are useful and which are liabilities. He must persuade Trump that NATO can support American strategic power rather than dilute it. For Trump, that leverage is powerful. If allies fear us disengagement, then they have a stronger incentive to spend, produce, and align. Critics call that destabilizing. Supporters see it as overdue realism. The old model assumed America would keep absorbing the imbalance. Trump's model forces allies to ask what they are prepared to do if America stops pretending the imbalance is acceptable. The geopolitical consequences could be huge. If Rutte succeeds, the July summit could become a consolidation moment for Trump's NATO doctrine: America stays but Europe pays more, produces more, and carries more of the conventional defense burden. That would leave NATO stronger in material terms, even if the politics feel rougher. If Rutte fails, the consequences become more dangerous. European capitals would face renewed doubts over US troop commitments, defense guarantees, and long-term American reliability. NATO's adversaries would study every public crack. Russia would look for hesitation. China would watch whether America's alliances can survive transactional pressure. Iran would read the dispute through the lens of American reach and allied discipline. The deeper consequence is that NATO may become less sentimental and more conditional. That could be healthy. Alliances that depend on nostalgia eventually weaken. Alliances that survive hard bargaining may become more credible, because every member has had to decide what the alliance is actually worth. The pro-Trump case is stronger than his critics admit. Trump's critics often focus on tone because tone is the easiest target. But NATO's spending transformation did not happen because European leaders suddenly discovered urgency in a vacuum. It happened because Trump made underpayment politically embarrassing and strategically costly. That is the uncomfortable pro-Trump argument. He may be blunt. He may be unpredictable. He may make allies nervous. But he has forced NATO toward the very outcome American presidents from both parties claim to want: more European defense spending, more burden sharing, and less automatic reliance on US taxpayers. Rutte's meeting with Trump is therefore not just about calming a president before a summit. It is about recognizing the new power structure inside NATO. Trump has leverage because his critique landed. Europe has fewer excuses because the threat environment has worsened. Rutte's job is to turn Trump's pressure into a summit victory rather than an alliance rupture. The July summit will reveal whether NATO has learned the lesson. The alliance can either become stronger, fairer, and more serious under pressure, or it can keep treating American frustration as a public relations problem. Trump's message is that the old deal is over. Rutte's mission is to make sure the new one keeps America in the room.